stay tuned because Stairway to Stardom is next with Frank Masi.
On the stairway to stardom, you see tomorrow's stars today. On the stairway to stardom, we're here to brighten up your day. We've got singers and dancers and actors performing for you. But there's more, so much more, and it's all right here for you. On the stairway to stardom.
What I liked about it is, again, this goes to pre-YouTube, is that people were just performing for just the joy of performing. Yeah. And it wasn't like it spoke to an era of like, you're not going to be shot down by trolls. You could just go and perform and, sing your heart out to whatever effect it might be, and just get that moment of just telling bad jokes or being 5 octaves out of the ballpark.
Yeah, every single person that was ever on the show was sincere. I mean, they were sort of oblivious too, because they really thought they were doing well. I mean, in some cases, I'm sure they thought they screwed up, but they were sincere about what they thought, the talent they thought they had before they appeared on the show. So, they all probably legitimately thought people were maybe casting agents would see them, or like Frank told us that there was this one comedian named Wayne Rubin. He looked like a lunatic, and he had
I've seen him.
So Frank said, "Oh yeah, that guy went over pretty well. He was booked for some comedy club in New Jersey booked him for 2 weeks based on that appearance." It was that kind of illustrious reward that you get for appearing on Stairway to Stardom. You get to perform at
2 weeks in New Jersey,
in some comedy dump in New Jersey somewhere.
That is Mitch Friedman, and you've tuned into another episode of Comedy History 101, where we school you in comedy. I am Harmon. Hello. And Mitch is not only our guest today, but he is one of the leading authorities on the iconic New York public access TV show Stairway to Stardom, which ran from 1979 through the early 1990s. Our friends at the Found Footage Festival describe Stairway to Stardom as, without exaggeration, it was one of the greatest shows ever to be on television. And Mitch is one of the people who helped preserve the legacy of Stairway to Stardom and prevented it from slipping into complete obscurity. And you will find out exactly why and how he did that. Now, if I were a hack, I would describe Stairway to Stardom as, it's a cross between Las Vegas and a David Lynch film. But I am not a hack, and won't describe it as such. Now, Stairway to Stardom first came on my radar when I was searching for video clips for my show, and this is also a slight plug, that 80s Improv Challenge, where I have 3 teams compete by creating scenes based on obscure videos from the 1980s. And we had a very special public access TV edition of the show. And that's where I first came across the pure joy, which is Stairway to Stardom. I believe the very first clip I saw was Lola Perazzo doing her rendition of the Thriller dance. But Stairway to Stardom has legions of fans stemming from Bjork to The Onion to, Comedy History 101. But before we jump into the episode, a few quick plugs. On Thursday, January 29th, 7 p.m. at the Players Theater, I'll be presenting my show, AI vs. Human Roast Battle. Come out and see a human rapper take on a machine learning AI in a comedy roast battle of tomorrow. And on January 30th, 7 p.m. at the Red Room above the KGB bar in the Lower East Side. I'll be presenting my show Tale, NYC's finest storytelling. No hokey gimmicks, no dumb themes. Tale brings you the best in New York storytelling. And of course, on February 19th, that 80s Improv Challenge, 7 p.m. at Young Ethel's. That's the show where we frequently show clips from Stairway to Stardom, which always gets a beloved response. And if you want to find out more about my show dates, you can check out my site, harmonleon.com, or follow me on the social medias at Harmon Leon. Also, take some time to like, subscribe, comment, and you can do so on our site, comedyhistory101.com, or on Instagram at comedyhist101. And now, without further ado,
You're stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
I'm trying to use the phone! Excuse me!
Comedy History 101. So when did the iconic and beloved show Stairway to Stardom first come on your radar?
Well, it was around 1987-ish, I would say. A friend of mine named Erwin Chusid, who was a disc jockey on WFMU, used to do a part of his radio show called Incorrect Music. Actually, it started out as Atrocious Music, and then it became Incorrect Music. And he used to compile these cassette tapes. Half of them were like cover versions, famous songs done terribly, and the other stuff was just like original terrible songs that you've never heard of the artists. And on one of these original terrible songs tapes, there was just the audio from Evie Day's little commercial on Stairway to Stardom. If you have talent.
I'm Evie Day, and when I'm working for Complete Entertainer, I come in contact with so many talented young people whose main ambition is to get into show business, be on TV. If you have talent, here's a golden opportunity for you.
But it just said Stairway to Stardom commercial. It didn't say anything about what the show was. I had no idea who this woman was. I didn't even know it was a TV show. But I knew it was called Stairway to Stardom, and I knew it was something strange about it. And so that was when I first heard of it. And then it was like 3 years later, I was just sitting at home watching Saturday night, watching Manhattan cable, and I just switched to whatever channel I usually switch to, and Stairway to Stardom just came on out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, okay, this is Stairway to Stardom. So it was the first time I saw it was maybe 3 years after I heard about it, but didn't know what it was.
And what hooked you when on that very first episode? Who were the iconic performers?
Everything, every second of that episode.
Yeah, maybe like both tell us about that, but also
okay,
walk us through what a typical episode entails for those who aren't aware of Stairway to Stardom.
Well, it was like a talent showcase. So the host of the show is this guy named Frank Masi, who is about 1'6", with the personality that he was 90 feet tall. You know, he's a singer. He's like a lounge singer kind of guy, and he started the show originally so he could give himself an opportunity to perform on TV, but then it was revised to allow other people to come on. But he still hogged half the show with his songs.
I don't know why I love you like I do. I don't know why, I just do. I don't know why you thrill me like you do. I don't know why, you just do.
Yeah, was it the early carnation? Wasn't it like Frank Massey's Nostalgic Hour or something?
Yeah. I think it was first called the Frank Massey Show, and then it was maybe called the Frank Massey Nostalgia Show, and then eventually it became Stairway to Stardom. I don't know, maybe within a year or two. So essentially, the format of each show is there'd be a theme song. He would probably start the show with either the theme song or another song that he would, like some famous song from the 40s that he would botch, and then there would be performers come on, and that could be anywhere from little kid dancers to comedians to singers to even a magician every now and then.
And puppets. Don't forget the puppets.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to forget the puppets, but yes, on one occasion, puppets. At least one occasion we know about puppets.
Hey, I like your eyes. Yeah, they're bright.
He's got some big eyes, huh?
You and Alice, Irvin, you and Alice got something going or something?
Oh, no, we're just friends.
Just friends, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, that when I say we know about, it's because eventually my friend and I got hold of whatever remaining Stairway to Stardom material still existed, which was about 20 hours worth. So it was like 40 shows, 40 half-hour shows, roughly. But when we asked Frank Masi, are these all of the, like, how many episodes did you ever do? And he goes, oh, we probably did 100 other episodes, but I recorded over them on these same tapes. So who knows how many other puppet shows there were, but we'll never know. There's no way of ever knowing or seeing it. And it's just criminal, really. I mean, it's a shame, but anyway, this first episode started with Frank Masi mutilating, but lip syncing and still messing it up. The Burt Bacharach, Hal David song, I'll Never Fall in Love Again, which was enough right there. I mean, I didn't even need to see anything else. And I already was like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But then this first episode that I saw, which was not the first episode, but it was the first one I saw. Then it had Lucille Cataldo doing her song medley as a song called Hairdresser.
Hairdresser, whoa, hairdresser, 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 hairdresser.
Which is crazy. It's like one of the greatest.
Yep, I've seen
most
it.
popular. Yeah. And then Don Costello, who was there.
Now, here's a question about him.
Yeah.
Was he or was he not in The Godfather?
No, it was a different Don Costello.
Oh, okay.
I sure hope it was I'm pretty sure it's a different Don Costello. But he was in a bunch of other movies. I mean, he was in like The Toxic Avenger. He was in a couple of the Trauma movies.
Yeah,
so
Lloyd Kaufman.
That's more his speed, certainly. But so then Don Costello was another guest on this same episode, and he lip synced and did a very disturbing dance to Mana Mana from Sesame Street. And then following that was a comedian, and I used the air quotes, Al Villa, who essentially for 10 minutes did nothing but infuriate everybody that was watching him.
No, it's good to say there's some more ugly folks here in the room besides myself. No kidding, there's some ugly folks here tonight. If you don't believe me, look next to you.
It was not funny at all. It was just an egomaniac.
And the great thing about the comedians on the show is they're performing for like three people.
That the other people that are waiting to perform, or their parents.
Yeah.
That are, but the thing I found out later on. I mean, initially we thought this guy is not funny at all. He was just like a jerk who thinks he's funny, and it was really kind of condescending humor, and it was about people being ugly, and it was just like mean spirited. And I didn't find out for like 10 years that he was literally word for word doing a Red Fox album, including the stuff that Red Fox was saying to people that were, what's the word? The people in the audience were taunting him. He even did that stuff. So not only was Elvia not funny, and he wasn't even using his own material, and he was still terrible. Anyway, that was pretty much the first show that I saw, was just that, which was like an all-star team of all-stars, maybe not the best word, but like a greatest shits. Let's not say that. Not greatest hits, but like there's some of the most famous performers that were on Stairway to Stardom were all in this first episode that I saw. So it was like one of the best episodes or worst episodes that were ever done. So that was perfect. It caught me, and that was it. I was just obsessed immediately. And after 30 minutes, once it ended, I was just like, I felt like my life had changed forever. And what am I going to do now if I never see this again? It was just, how am I going to tell anybody about this if I have no proof that it actually happened,
You're stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
Where was it filmed? It looks very much like a basement somewhere. And was it Staten Island?
No, that was the Staten Island thing. It was just something that somebody on NPR did a story about it and interviewed me. And the host preface the playing of the story by saying, in what looks to appear like a Staten Island basement, but it was not Staten Island. It wasn't a basement. It was just a public access TV studio in Manhattan. And it was basically like every public access show on Manhattan cable was filmed in the same studio around that time. It was called ELA Studios. That's what it was called. So it was never in Staten Island. I mean, there were a lot of people on the show from Staten Island, but it wasn't filmed in Staten Island. It was just in some dingy studio in Manhattan.
And you met Frank Masi. You interviewed him.
Oh, yeah. A few times. Well, first we met him because we contacted him. And when I say we, it's my friend Doug Miller and I. He gets equal blame for this, credit/blame for being obsessed with it. And, we were in this together. So we contacted him we were like, we got to get more of these episodes. If there are more of these, we have to have them. So he had his phone number. Frank Masi had his phone number on the end of some of the shows. So we just all right, we'll call the number. And it was his number. He answered. So we told him we were making we lied that we were making a documentary about public access because we were both film editors at the time, assistant film editors. That was our job. So it wasn't that far much of a lie, except for the fact that we weren't making a documentary. We just wanted to see more Stairway to Stardom. But we told Frank we were making this documentary. We were big fans of his show. And if he had any other episodes other than the 2 or 3 that we saw, could we see them? And he's like, yeah, come over to my house. I'll see what I have here. And then when we got there, he told us, I found these 20 hours of stuff. And we asked if we could borrow half of them first, just for screening purposes, of course.
Yeah.
But we immediately went home and dubbed every second of every one of them,
And what year was this? Was it like way before YouTube or?
Oh, yeah. It was like 91.
Oh,
maybe?
okay. All right. YouTube wasn't
maybe even 90. Maybe even 90. I don't even know. But yeah, it wasn't any later than 91. And so we borrowed the first half. We copied them. Our jaws were hanging open, everything that we saw. And then we went back like a month later or so to interview him and also to get the other half of the tapes. And we felt like we probably felt a little guilty because we had lied to him and we were dubbing the tapes and we didn't ask. But, so the second time when we went back to get the rest of the tapes and interview him, we took the edge off by giving him $100 and a dozen cannolis. And he was very excited about the cannolis and thought we were very generous. So, all right. We got the rest of the tapes and dubbed those, but we did the interview that day, and which can be seen on the YouTube channel. It's there somewhere, the full 45-minute thing.
And back in the day, was it popular, or was it just kind of this thing like
popular?
People would talk about it, like just weird, pre-YouTube public access TV? Like would people be recognized from the show, or?
Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, I mean, apparently it was pretty popular, whatever popular means, in the 80s for people that lived in Manhattan and had cable. I mean, it was like a train wreck every week, and people would tune in because they just couldn't believe what they were seeing. So it was popular in that sense, but there were very few people that were ever on the show that ever
took that stairway to stardom, as they.
Yeah, I mean, there were like 3. There were like 3 people, let's say.
I think I found one guy. He was like a teenage comedian and went on to be a comedy writer.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say he's famous, but I mean, yeah, he was successful.
I mean, at least worked in show business.
Yeah.
Post and he's Stairway to Stardom.
He's still at it. He's still a comedy writer. He seems well adjusted and normal. So, but there was one guy there was like a teenage kind of dancer, choreographer guy, and he became like a Tony Award winning Broadway choreographer. So he has a legitimate fame and awards. He's legitimate talent. And then there was this other woman named Precious Taft who did this she didn't write the monologue, but she performed this disturbed monologue by Langston Hughes. It was from one of his books. And it ends with her threatening to smash a baby's head against a goddamn radiator or something, So it was part of the monologue.
Right,
it wasn't
right.
it
wasn't the monologue's over. And then
no,
threats came.
Well, there might have been people that were worried, but anyway, she was like an actress, and then she also sang the Minnie Riperton song "Lovin' You," which is famous for that like ear-piercingly high-pitched part that like only dogs could hear in the original recording.
Mhm.
She didn't even attempt that. She just went like 8 octaves lower for that part. So, but anyway, I didn't even know this until like last year. She ended up touring with Diana Ross and Buster Poindexter, and she was on the Tonight Show, and she was on the Letterman, and friends with Luther Vandross. I mean, she had a legitimate background singer career after that. I had no idea of any of this. So she's probably by far the most successful person that ever appeared on the show, at least that we know about.
Yeah, what I liked about it is, again, this goes to pre-YouTube, is that people were just performing for just the joy of performing. And it wasn't like it spoke to an era of like, you're not going to be shot down by trolls. You could just go and perform and, sing your heart out to whatever effect it might be.
Yeah.
And just get that moment of just telling bad jokes or being 5 octaves out of the ballpark.
Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see.
Every single person that was ever on the show was sincere. I mean, they were sort of oblivious too, because they really thought they were doing well. I mean, in some cases, I'm sure they thought they screwed up, but they were sincere about what they thought, the talent they thought they had before they appeared on the show. So, they all probably legitimately thought people were maybe casting agents would see them, and maybe for like little kid dancers, that was the case, but I doubt any, I mean, like Frank told us that there was this one comedian named Wayne Rubin who just, his impressions were okay. His material was terrible, but he looked like a lunatic, and he had
I've seen him.
So Frank said, "Oh yeah, that guy went over pretty well. He was booked for, some comedy club in New Jersey booked him for 2 weeks based on that appearance." It was that kind of, illustrious reward that you get for appearing on Stairway to Stardom. You get to perform
like 2 weeks in New Jersey,
in some comedy dump in New Jersey somewhere. But so that was, and Frank was ambitious in his way too, because he wanted people to see him, and he was a nightclub performer. And
what kind of venues did he play in New York? Like where are those venues? Just torch song kind of places?
No, just like little piano bars.
Right.
He kept referring to some place called McGillicuddy's, but I don't know any. I mean, I imagine it's just like a little bar restaurant type place, or I've never heard of it. I don't even think I've ever even looked it up. I don't know if that's an oversight on my part. I should have looked that one up. But yeah, he just little crappy venues like that, or I don't even know. I mean, where Frank would have performed, but yeah.
And did you get a chance to meet any of the performers? Like, did you meet Horowitz and Spector at any?
No, we didn't meet them.
Something's rotten in Transylvania. My baby doesn't bite me anymore. Something's rotten in Transylvania. He doesn't give me fang the way he did before.
But
I looked them up. Like, she's still playing some sort of.
Oh yeah, I guess that she was sort of had a
It was
career,
the Transylvania song.
Yeah. Well, in 2006, I think it was 2006, Doug and I put together this box set, DVD box set of all of our compilations, Stairway to Stardom compilations and bonus material, whatever. It was just like collecting it all into DVDs. And we weren't selling them. We were just copying them for friends. We never made a penny off of any of this. We never tried to, and we never would, because it wasn't our show. We just were fans that were determined to get every second of it that still existed. But so in 2006, we made this box set, but then a friend of ours had this idea of putting on like an event in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And it was like a room. It was a restaurant. It was like a kind of a, what's the term?
Dinner theater?
A hipster restaurant, right. Williamsburg, which probably every restaurant in Williamsburg is probably a hipster restaurant. But at this point, they had a back room where they would be performances. So I made these, these couple of half hour compilations of clips, and people, seated in the round and the things were projected on the screen. But we also had Jimmy Schwartzman, who was somebody that was on Stairway to Stardom, who was this singer with this enormous mouth.
Come to the cabaret, old chum. Come to the cabaret. Come taste the wine. Come hear the band.
Like, his mouth was like the size of his normal person's head. And he had a loud, brassy voice, and he sang cabaret. He looked like a Far Side character, from the Far Side comic strip. And then we also had All the King's Men, who was this sort of wedding bar mitzvah band kind of guys. And they were on the show several times, and they performed Neil Diamond's America, Coming to America, whatever it's called. I think it's just called America. And we had them perform and they also did the Stairway to Stardom theme song, the second theme song, the disco-y one. They wrote that. And the recording is what you hear at the beginning of the later episodes. So they performed that song and a couple others. And then Jimmy Schwartzman sang cabaret with them at this whole event. So I met those two. But did I ever meet anybody? I don't think I ever met anybody else. I've spoken with a few other people, but I don't think I've ever met anybody else. Oh, that's not true. I met Lucille Cataldo completely randomly on the street one day in Brooklyn, which was crazy because you just don't expect that to happen. But I just was waiting on a sidewalk outside of a sushi restaurant that I had ordered from. I just felt like standing around outside. It was like, I don't know, it was like the summer or something. So I said, oh, just come out and get me when it's ready and I'll, come back in and pay for it. So I was just standing around on the sidewalk. And there was an empty parking spot right in front of me. And this car comes down the street and pulls right in, like 2 feet away from me. I have a good attention to detail. I noticed like celebrities from 3 blocks away.
And once again, what was her shtick on the show?
Hairdresser, hairdresser, oh, hairdresser, hairdresser.
Oh, she was the hairdresser.
Oh, the hairdresser song. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this car pulls in and I was like, wait a second. I think that's Lucille. I know that's Lucille Cataldo. I mean, she's like 2 feet away from me. So he got out of the car and walked away across the street the other way and to do shopping for groceries or whatever. And when she was coming back, I was like, okay, I have to. I'll never forgive myself if I don't say something. I have to. So I said, excuse me, I don't mean to, alarm you or whatever, but are you Lucille Cataldo? And of course I knew the answer. And she's like, yeah, how did you know that? And I said, well, my friend and I are big fans of Stairway to Stardom, and we remembered you were on these. Oh my God, that was 20 years ago.
Oh, wow. So it was 20 years.
It was like 1998. And she was on the show for the last time, probably 1984. So it wasn't 20 years, but it was quite a while. So anyway, before she got freaked out a little bit because it was like, why would this random person recognize me for any reason? Mm-hmm. But certainly for Stairway to Stardom, that isn't even current. But what it turns out is that when the Daily Show, when Jon Stewart first took over the Daily Show, which he wasn't the original host, I think it was that other guy.
Craig Kilborn.
Yeah. So, but when Jon Stewart first started, they had a segment called Public Access. And they would show clips from public access shows, and then apparently like a week or two before I bumped into Lucille Cataldo, they were making fun of Hairdresser on The Daily Show. So she was still freshly angry about that. So, that was the timing of that one. I reminded her of Stairway to Stardom and she was like, oh, good, I'm still angry from a week ago, So
what does that say about the culture? Because I think in YouTube again, it's like, haha, look at this. We're back then. Yeah. It's like people going for the gold without shame or repercussions, or knowing there would be repercussions. I mean, the joy of performing.
Well, that's the thing. It's like when we first discovered the show, we were much younger, and of course we had an attitude like, oh, everybody in the show is hilariously terrible. We didn't give them any credit for the courage that it took to put themselves out there like that. In some cases, regrettably. But as time went on, I've come to respect the people that were on the show because, half of them were just mediocre or just boring. They weren't terrible. They weren't good. About half were terrible. And there was about like 1% that were actually quite talented. But everybody's intentions were pure. They just wanted to perform. And it took a lot of guts just to even be on TV for the first time. Like, they had no experience with a camera, or for you would assume most people had never been on camera, on TV. So, yeah, so I have a begrudging respect for, I still think some of them are terrible, but not as many as I initially thought were terrible. I mean, like, there are some that are legitimately terrible. Let's not kid ourselves.
I'm trying to use the phone!
What does it say about New York of that era or public access of that era? But most particularly, what does it say about New York of that era, of the 80s, showbiz, Yeah. And now every place has like a comedy venue, but then there was probably, the main ones and maybe a few one-nighters, And again, it's just like it was a rougher New York as well.
I guess, well, if you're in New York, you just assume that you're supposed to be famous, or everybody else is. Well, it's that if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, or that stuff. So people thought they were maybe they thought they were already ahead of the game because they were in New York. They had a better chance of. Well, there's 10 million people around could be watching it. I'm sure there weren't more than 10 people watching at a time, but they. The audience was there if it wanted to be. So maybe it was that. It was just sort of like, okay, I'm ambitious, and what better place to do this than on Manhattan cable? What you wouldn't want to go to Wichita and perform on public access there. If you wanted to become famous, it would probably have the same result, but you would think New York City is the place to do this.
But also that it was that golden age of public access, beyond vaudeville and no YouTube, and just these shows, I forgot his name. I think it was Terry Sweeney was one of the early Saturday Night Live, and he got discovered by doing a New York public access show.
Oh, really? Did?
I think it was, but yeah, one of the writers, maybe it wasn't him. Actually, no, I think it was a writer I met at a comedy
writer?
venue. Yeah, and he had a public access show in New York and got on for a season as a writer for, it's somewhere in the 80s SNL. But again, it was just like that golden era of public access TV. Your options were limited, where now it's just like every device has something new.
Oh yeah, I mean, back then it was just like you're on, or that's it. There was no other option, I don't think. There might have been some UHF channels that had similar kind of stuff, but those were only locally. You could only see those wherever you lived. It wasn't like, I guess it's the same with public access too, but yeah, I think people just, there were all kinds of ridiculous shows on public access in the 80s and 70s, like the porn things and terrible interview shows and who knows what else, I mean, a lot of religious stuff. Anything goes. If you pay the money, you could put on a show for a half an hour or whatever it is that you wanted to, and they had to put it on.
And then what year did you put the episodes on YouTube? And then how did that trajectory course really kind of change Stairway to Stardom in the public lexicon?
Initially we made these VHS compilations, around 1990, 91. Yeah, the woman that interviewed me for the NPR story had a website. Her name was Jennifer Sharp, and she had a website with all kinds of weird collections of cultural ephemera and things like that. So she was a big fan of the show, and it was her idea she wanted to host the clips on her website, but there was no way to do it. So that's when YouTube started, around 2005, 6. So it was her idea to make a YouTube channel, and she's the one who ran it initially. But then about 5 years later, I was just checking back just every now and then to see, how many people have watched it or whatever. And they were all gone. All the clips were gone. And she didn't tell me. She took them off. So I was like, all right. I contacted her and found out. So I started the channel myself, and I put up better quality clips. And so I've run it ever since. But it was probably then, 2005, 6 is when everybody who didn't know us could stumble upon it accidentally or on purpose. So yeah, YouTube definitely made a huge difference. And even to this day, I mean, it's not like the most popular channel in the world, but even to this day, like every month I get something like 300 new subscribers for 10 years. It's been like that. So I don't know how people are finding out about it, but they are. They keep finding out about it.
Yeah, and what surprised you about the reaction? Like when you read like the comments in it, or if anything, nothing.
Nothing surprised me. No, I mean, like Doug and I've always said, like even if we weren't the ones to find this show and save it and whatever, we still would be just as big of fans if somebody else had done it. So that's essentially been the same reaction that I've had to when other people discover it, because they're just like us. Like, how can you not find this weird or amusing or just wrong? Everybody seems to like it for the same reason that we did. And I'm sure there are people now who possibly know more about it than we do, because I've uploaded every second of every single existing episode. So there are people that have all the same stuff that we have and have probably memorized it more than I have, So, and that wouldn't surprise me either, because...
Do you think it would have been lost to history if it wasn't for you and Doug?
Oh, definitely lost to history, because there were only like, 2 or 3 episodes they were showing, and then they just stopped they just stopped completely. And there's no way they was ever going to come back. And the only copies that existed were just like people that maybe had taped it off of public access, but we didn't know who any of those people were or how many there were or anything. So yeah, if we hadn't been disturbed and obsessed and deceptive, yeah, I don't think anybody would have any record of it. Nobody would be able to watch it because it wouldn't exist anywhere.
And through your whole Stairway to Stardom journey, what is the most surprising thing you learned about Stairway to Stardom? Either about the show or Frank?
Well, there's been like some celebrities are fans, which isn't surprising, but it's just surprising that who these celebrities are. That, like, how did these people even know? Like Bjork is a huge Stairway to Stardom fan.
I guess it was the term I would be outsider art, art just made in a bubble without, again, TikTok comments and just doing it to do it, Yeah,
it's what surprised me is that I think the thing that surprised me the most is that nobody was aware of how they came across. Still, I mean, especially Frank Masi, he had no idea. I mean, he really hadn't. He knew that a lot of people liked the show, but he had no idea why they really liked the show. And we weren't going to tell him. We didn't want to insult him by saying, "Oh, they're laughing at you." He just thought people legitimately liked the performers, and we even gave him a copy of the box set, the DVD box set that we made, and those were just our compilations, and there wasn't anything good on any of those. I mean, those were like the most bizarre, bad performers that we weren't showcasing the good people, if there were any.
With that said, who would be on your Stairway to Stardom Mount Rushmore?
For good or bad?
I'll just leave that open ended. I mean, would it be Lola Perazzo and Thriller?
As one of those.
Who now I think lives in Staten Island and is like a Reiki healer or something.
Oh, is she? Yeah, I don't know.
As according to my Google search.
Yeah, that could be right. Well, yeah, I mean, there are certain performers that we like, but we're more obsessed with like the little subtle moments from clips where things get screwed up, or it's like the little technical problems, or
like the camera's just on the wall for some reason, while the performers
the dissolves go on, like the video dissolves go on for like 5 minutes.
Where I hear the music, close my eyes, feel the rhythm.
Stuff like that, or like there's this guy named Bob Johnson who's like this generic lounge singer kind of guy. He looks ridiculous. He's in a purple, like a maroon tuxedo, and he lip syncs on the show. But he was going to lip sync to some recording that he made of Under the Boardwalk and Stand By Me. And he said, so he starts with, this is recorded with my group. And then you hear the backing track start up, and he's going to lip sync because it's a low quality recording. But his microphone was still on. And so the very first 3 words, he starts to sing and then catches himself, because he realizes he's not supposed to be making any sound. He's supposed to be lip syncing. It's those little, like kind of little moments like that I love. So those are my Mount Rushmore things, like this sort of the strange little mess ups and subtleties. But being an editor, I'm like always fixated on the minutia of things. So that's probably why I notice that stuff, because I just can't help it. But yeah, I have favorite performers, but it's more like parts of performances that are my favorite thing.
So what do you think Stairway to Stardom's place is in comedy history, being this podcast is Comedy History 101?
Comedy history? Well, Alvia definitely
or just showbiz history.
Well, oddly enough, it was the precursor to Star Search. Metro Media, which was a network that originally put on Star Search, they heard about Stairway to Stardom, and they asked for a copy of the tape from Frank Masi. And then like a year later, Star Search was created. So they got the idea of the format of the show from Stairway to Stardom. So I think it was important in that respect. But comedy well, yeah, it's sort of like the precursor to YouTube trolling, I guess. As yeah, I don't know. I still don't think enough people know about it. So that's the but like I said, every month, few hundred new people find out about it. So, maybe as time goes on, it'll be not more well known, but have more significance. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say if it has any importance, other than just to entertain people with weirdness.
Well,
but I don't know.
I think it's just like that slice of New York public access TV that doesn't exist, mixed with, pre-YouTube, and you could say influences, like Tim and Eric and Adult Swim.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean it's also like the fashion that people are wearing, the clothes and the sort of the New York accents and the that kind of stuff. It's a good thing it was in New York, because that adds kind of color to it too.
Yeah, I'm waiting for like the Safdie brothers to make the Stairway to Stardom.
Oh god,
they're like big into like that era of New York.
Yeah, and they're like they're a big Andy Kaufman. Like, didn't he produce that recent Andy Kaufman documentary, or he had something to do with it?
Oh yeah, I think I interviewed Alex Braveman, who he's the director of that Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think either him or Rick Rubin, I think, was involved, but maybe
Rick Rubin.
Yeah. Because I remember, first Rick Rubin, big wrestling fan, but also Andy Kaufman fan. So maybe Rick Rubin was like an executive producer of that Andy Kaufman documentary. But I think also maybe one of the either A24 or one of the Safdie brothers.
Yeah, A20. Yeah, I think it was it. But so they, it's ripe for. I can't tell you how many people over the years have contacted me wanting to make a documentary about it, and then never have. And it's always because they're afraid they're going to get sued by the powerful Masi legal team. Come on. Because it's unclear who owns the rights to it. I don't own the rights to it. So Frank's surviving, widow, I assume she's still around, is the only person who really has the rights to the show, and she's not responding anymore. So it's I don't I forgot what the question was.
Place in comedy history, but also Andy Kaufman and influence and that sort of thing.
It was just lots of people have wanted. Lots of people are interested in making a documentary about this, but they get scared off because they're not sure who owns the rights and they don't want to be sued. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Who's going to sue you? Somebody that was on the show as a kid who was extremely embarrassed about it now might sue you. So, but really, they're not going to. That'll just draw attention to themselves. So, there's definitely a lot of interest in it, but I wish somebody would do it, because everybody keeps saying, "Why don't you make a documentary?" I was like, I've had enough. I don't have the time or the money to.
Yeah,
You know, it's
you
too late now.
resurrected it from
It's too late already.
obscurity. So yeah.
Yeah. But we could have done it. We just were too lazy or just didn't feel like it at the time. And also like it's so long ago that there aren't that many. The only people that are probably still around now were like kids on the show or young adults.
Yeah. I've done some Google research, and it was just like the child. But no, what was it? Spectre and Horowitz.
Harrison Spectre.
Yeah. I think she's still around.
She is still. I mean, there are some adults that are still around, but mostly it's like, you know, the little kids that were on the show in the 80s are now like their 40s, and they want to have nothing to do with it. You know, they're completely mortified that they were ever on the show.
And I think I heard you say, like, in another interview, that the Sweeney sisters?
Yeah.
SNL inspired by Horowitz and Spectre.
I mean, it seems that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be like, if they're not inspired by it, it's a really strange coincidence, because it's almost exactly the same. You know, it's the little quips back and forth with the big hair, and you know,
I mean, Transylvania thing. That's like, and just how I came across. I have a show in New York. It's called that 80s Improv Challenge. It's like 3 improv teams compete by creating scenes based on obscure videos from the 80s. So one show we had, it's always a theme, and one show is public access theme, and that took me down the Google rabbit hole and took me to Stairway to Stardom. And then ever since, you know, doing that show, when I put a Stairway to Stardom clip, it's always a big crowd pleaser.
Well, this is completely off the subject, but I think, in my opinion, the worst video of the 80s, and there are probably a lot of terrible videos in the 80s. The worst one, maybe the worst song and video, is the David Bowie, Mick Jagger cover of Dancing in the Street. Have you seen that one?
Yeah. They're like Mick Jagger in big 80s clothes, and
they're both like, you know, like practically making out with each other and dancing. It was just, so that would be worth an improv, but I can understand. Yeah. I mean, I used to do improv too, but it was before like we had any of this technology stuff. It was just sort of, you know, throw out the name of a profession and a location, that kind of stuff. You know, there wasn't anything else to it, you know. But I bet it's fun now when you can actually have video clips to inspire things. But yeah, I'm glad Stairway to Stardom is still confusing people.
Yeah, and any last thoughts or anything I didn't ask you about Stairway to Stardom, anything that would fascinate listeners out there?
Not that I mean, this is Frank and Tilly had a restaurant in Denver where Tuesdays was the special was chicken cacciatore. That's all I could. I don't know if that's not fascinating at all, but I find it amusing that they wanted us to know that.
Post Stairway to Stardom or pre?
No, way like during, or maybe before. I don't. Actually, it's a good question. I don't know when it was, but no, it wasn't during because it was in Denver.
Yeah,
so,
Denver.
Yeah. But anyway, no, I just hope that more people keep stumbling upon the channel before it gets removed for who knows what. You know, all it needs is one performer to be embarrassed and complain, and that's happened a few times where people have contacted me and said, "Listen, I didn't even know why I did this when I was 18." This guy named Myron Lockett, who was on a very early show. He was this young African-American kid that with a ridiculously deep voice, you know, just like almost like a joke of a deep voice. Like you wouldn't think it would come out of him.
Yeah.
And he sang a couple of songs and he was just mortified. But, you know, decades later, he's mortified by finding it on YouTube.
Yeah, just own it.
And he says, he's like, I've been depressed and I've been in bed for like a month depressed about this. So could you please remove it? You know, stuff like that. So,
okay.
So I did remove it, or at least I didn't remove the clip, but I removed his name from it so that nobody could search it and find him.
Right.
But still, that happens every now and then where somebody will be like, "Oh God, what? I forgot I did this. Let me get this taken away before anybody else sees it." But it doesn't happen that often, and most people are just sort of laughing about what they did so long ago. But not everybody, but most people. So,
and where can people find the clips, and Anything else you would like to plug?
You can find the clips on YouTube. It's a Stairway to Stardom channel. Anything else I'd want to plug? Could that include wanting to punch somebody in the mouth? Does that count as a plug?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I don't want to say it then. But no, I mean, I've written a couple of books. I have like 8 albums worth of original songs. But as like I said to other people in the past, I've done all this original stuff. I edited TV shows for 30 years, and the only thing I'm known for is Stairway to Stardom. So I guess I want to plug anything other than Stairway to Stardom that I had anything to do with, but nobody cares. So there's no point. It's all there if you want to find it or not. But yeah, as long as people keep watching Stairway to Stardom, I'm happy with that. Even though, don't blame me for it, but blame us for resurrecting it, but don't blame us for it existing. That's kind of my approach.
Oh, footnote. Do you know the Found Footage Festival guys?
Oh yeah, of course. I edited one of their, I think it was the second season DVD, which had the Stairway to Stardom material in it, and also had Jack Rebney, the Winnebago Man, which is anyway. Yeah, I know those guys, and they actually did an interview with me on their YouTube channel about Stairway to Stardom. I forget, it was like VCR party or something.
Yep.
That they have. Yeah, there's a whole interview with me about Stairway to Stardom from like, I don't know, during the pandemic sometime, maybe 5 years ago. Anyway, yeah, I know those guys, and we used to all live in Brooklyn, so I used to, go for drinks with them every now and then, and and they've always been very nice. I gave them some Alex Trebek cursing footage. That's a whole other story. I mean, obviously they've watched thousands of hours of horrendous
of
stuff.
Everything.
Of everything, and they still insist, like, in our opinion, this is one of the greatest shows that's ever been on TV, and they still say that. So
I think it's like hands down the greatest show. Was
hands
a quote
down?
from when they were at the
hands
AB
down.
Club at on the Onion.
Oh, they did say, okay. Well, who am I to dispute that? They're the experts on TV, so I'm just a humble fool that was obsessed with the show and needed to see more. But their whole careers are promoting this nonsense. Not Stairway to Stardom, but all just strange video things. So they're committed to it, and even though they got sued, you know about that story, right?
Yeah, they've been on the podcast, and I've seen their documentary.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that stuff. So what's it called? Chop and Steel.
Yeah, Chop and Steel is a documentary. Yeah. It's great stuff.
Yeah, I love it. And Chef.
Well, the guy from The Office was their buddy from when they would infiltrate morning TV shows, and that's how he got discovered. And then also went on to the vampire show, What We Do in the Shadows.
Right. Yeah, and he was the yo-yo.
Yeah, the yo-yo guy who had wife troubles.
Oh yeah,
on the morning. Yeah.
Great
stuff, man. I love all that stuff.
I love it. It's great. It's fantastic. And I was also like a big fan of Beyond Vaudeville, and I knew Rich Brown pretty well. And he's actually the one who was hosting that Public Excess segment on the Daily Show. He was.
Okay, right.
He was the correspondent at the time.
Wow.
So, and he's a big fan of Stairway to Stardom, and some Stairway to Stardom people that were on Stairway to Stardom were also on Beyond Vaudeville. Some of the performers.
Yeah, I gotta check. I haven't one of my associate producers on this is always steering me towards Beyond Vaudeville, and I've seen like the underdog woman.
Oh yeah, I mean that show is. I mean that's the thing. That show is like, it's sincere, except that the host and the co-host are characters. Right. But everybody, they're playing characters. But everybody else that's on the show is a real performer or whatever they are, an expert in Star Trek minutia, or whatever kind of a plate spinner or whatever these people do. But yeah, there's tons and tons and tons of great Beyond Vaudeville stuff that's worth watching.
Yeah, I think that's what I'll dive into next. So,
and they even gave Frank Masi an award.
He was on Beyond Vaudeville, or
he wasn't on Beyond Vaudeville, but they had like an award, like a public access awards type ceremony where they were giving out awards to other popular public access shows. And they gave Frank Masi an award for Stairway to Stardom, and he did a little speech, and then he sang The Way We Were. And that's in the in the Frank Masi interview on YouTube, about 3/4 of the way through, he talks about that. He holds up the award, and then we show the clip of him on that award, the Beyond Vaudeville Awards show thing. So, yeah, I think that was the only time he was probably on the show, but still, that's good enough for me. That's like a weird crossover no one expected, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Marvel meets DC universe.
Battle of the public access stars or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, Mitch, thanks so much. It was
You're welcome.
really great talking to you, man. I love the stories.
And I appreciate you asking me. So
yeah,
enjoy. Good luck editing this.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
All right,
See
take
ya.
care.
Okay,
Bye.
see you. Good night. Bye.
And that wraps up our episode today on the history of Stairway to Stardom. And I'd like to thank my friend Jean-Francois Bresson, who was the associate producer on this episode and led me down the stairway to stardom. And do yourselves a big favor and check out Stairway to Stardom's YouTube channel. You won't be disappointed. And the few quick plugs. Thursday, January 29th, 7 p.m. at the Players Theater, AI versus Human Roast Battle. And on Friday, January 30th, Tale, NYC's finest storytelling. No hokey gimmicks, no dumb themes. Tale brings you the best in New York storytelling. And of course, on Thursday, February 19th, 7 p.m. at Young Ethel's in Park Slope, that 80s Improv Challenge. And you can find out all about my show dates on my site, harmonleon.com, or on social media at harmonleon. Also, take some time to like, subscribe, and comment on Comedy History 101. Share an episode with a friend, wherever you get your podcasts, or on iTunes, Spotify, our site, comedyhistory101.com, or on Instagram, comedyhist101. And we will see you next time. Bye.
You're stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
I'm trying to use the phone!
Comedy History 101.